Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Nemeka Onyeka Oberiri. I saw a post 13 hours ago on Facebook page of one KAA car broadcast. The guy has huge followership of 186,000 people. And interestingly and shockingly and atrociously, he made a post comparing the revenue allocations received by the 5 Southeast states and Niger State. In fact, in that post, clearly, he said that Niger State with a landmass of 76,363 square kilometers of landmass, which is about 7.6 million hectares of landmass, got allocation from FAC of about 17.4 billion. And then the Southeast states, 5 Southeast states with a landmass of 29,000 square kilometers, which is about 2.9 million hectares of land, got 131 billion. So his argument is basically that Niger State with a landmass that is 2.5 times that of South is supposed to have more allocation in terms of fact than Southeast states. And interestingly, he had over, for how many shares? Over 1,100 shares and over 4,700 comments. Going through that comment, my heart bled. I wept at the atrocious level of ignorance in Nigeria. People were sharing it as if the guy made any common sense. Oh, because Niger State has a landmass of 76,000 square kilometers, 7.5 million hectares, because the Southeast has landmass of 29,000 square kilometers, which is 2.9 million hectares. So Niger State should have 2.5 times more allocation than the Southeast. Atrocious ignorance. And people were clapping and hailing him. Now, let me break it down. Nigeria is where we are today because we have refused to embrace the truth and do the truth and apply the truth. Remember, before independence in 1960, we had several summits, several conferences, Ahmadu Bello, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Awolowo, Anthony Enahoro, before they agreed on a codified constitutional and fiscal framework that guided Nigeria. The regions were semi-autonomous and powerful. So semi-autonomous and powerful that when MPC won the majority seat in National Assembly, Ahmadu Bello, who naturally should have been the prime minister, because he loved his north so much and he valued the independence of his north, he asked one of his Portuguese, Tafawa Balewa, to go become the prime minister because the regions were powerful. In fact, the center derived its power from the regions. We had a fiscal arrangement then where each of the constituent units, the regions, controlled 50% of the revenue waterfall from their state, their regions. 30% is paid to the port for sharing to everybody, and then 20% to the federal government, with very few things on the exclusive list: internal, external affairs, and security. The regions also had their strong police force. They had even sub-sovereign embassies in US, in the UK. Then Nigeria was so productive that you did not need any visa to go to any of the Western countries. In fact, as of 1960 to 1966, we had a better GDP per capita than Indonesia, than Malaysia, than Brazil, than even South Korea. It was a productive country. As of 1965, we had control over 45% of the global palm oil market. Michael Opera was blazing the trail. They had massive industrialization policy anchored on agro value chain as the foundation, and they had a revenue waterfall that was bigger than that of other regions and the fastest growing economy in the whole of the Commonwealth before the military guy struck in 1966, and then Gowon came and destroyed the whole physical arrangement that we had in Nigeria. You know, I am so sorry because I feel so sorry for people who do not understand from where the rain started beating us. Okay, but what is the use of landmass when you don't sweat it? If you hand over Niger State to me with that kind of landmass as governor, I will create over $500 billion annually from the agro value chain. Niger State is even so lucky and fortunate to even have the River Niger flowing through it and other things. Do you know that Netherlands has a total landmass that is even half of Niger State, 41,000 square kilometers. The only arable landmass in Netherlands is about 1.5 million hectares. Yet annually, Netherlands generates revenue of over 122 billion euros from agro export. In fact, from their dairy sector alone, where they have 1.6 million cows, 47 dairy processing plants, 47,000 people working in that center, they generate over $24 billion from the dairy beef value chain. Can we agree that Ahmadu Bello Azikiwe and Awolowo. We are too smart. We are very smart. Smarter, Michael Obama are 10 times smarter than the bunch of hooligans we have today as political officers. If we truly love this country, one of these is why we are where we are today, because we are operating a criminal Babiala fiscal federalism that allow the lazy to sit without doing anything and collect revenue every month. If we decide, let me tell you, until we go back to that foundation that our forefathers agreed to, Nigeria will not move forward. Can we agree of a truth to go back to the fiscal and constitutional arrangement that we had in the 1960s? Let the states and the regions look inward, harness their natural resources, harness their human capital, harness their land resources, harness the 4 factors of production within their domain. Produce. Whatever you produce, you take 50% of the revenue for yourself. Pay 30% to the central port to be shared by the lazy ones who don't want to work, and 20% to the federal government. And then make the exclusive list lean with only things that has to do with military, security, and external relationship like we had it. Let the 6 regions be powerful and let them be semi-autonomous as we had it then. That is the only way we can make progress. The level of ignorance in Nigeria is so atrocious. I will tell you this, I kid you not. When we do this, and when each state and each region clearly understood that they will never eat until they work, everybody will look inward. My state, Imo State, we have huge gas reserve. We have very limited land mass, 550,000 60,000 square kilometers of land. But I can tell you, from Imo State, we can get nothing less than $200 billion annually. Focused on harnessing our natural gas resources, focused on mechanized and tech and smart-driven agriculture. This is a no-brainer. See, Zamfara can control their gold. Pay 50%, keep 50%, and pay 30%. Delta, Rivers can control their crude oil. Pay 50%, take 50%, pay 30% to the center. And people will now become more accountable. When you adopt this fiscal regime, this fiscal responsibility, people will now look inward to begin to ask questions. There will be no need for everybody to be cleaning ourselves, playing politics, going to Abuja. The regions will control their security like we had it then. Michael Okpara had one of the smartest and most efficient police force. That when there was issues in one of the countries in South African Republic and they were looking for police people to come and make peace, they did not request for Tafawa Balewa's police. They requested specifically for the police that we are trained and raised in the southeast with all this region by Michael Okpara. And when we do this and carry out massive electoral reform, the smartest of us all, the most efficient, the most creative, the most patriotic, the non-thieves will find their way to power, just like we had in the First Republic when we had Abafame Awolowo, Ahmadu Bello, and the Zik and the Michael Okpara. They served with all their heart and they did not loot. We know this truth. So somebody sharing, because Niger has a landmass that they are not using, landmass that is infested by terrorists. I have shared in some of my podcasts things that the Niger state governor can do, working with the federal government of Nigeria, that will unlock that state and make it a beehive of economic paradise. You have a landmass you are not sweating, and you think you can use that empty landmass to get allocation. You have a population that you are not sweating. How many people in Netherlands? 18 million people only. In fact, they have less than 200,000 people in the agri sector. Less than 200,000 people in Netherlands are sweating 122 billion euro revenue annually. And we have 72 million farmers that cannot even feed ourselves. We are importing over $11 billion worth of food commodities into this country. Does it make sense? A country that controlled 45% of the global palm oil market in 1965. Today, that market is $82 billion size. 85% controlled by Indonesia and Malaysia. And we are importing hundreds of billions of naira palm oil from Benin Republic, from Cote d'Ivoire. Does it make sense? All we need to do to cover the domestic supply gap of about 1.4 million tons of palm oil is to plant 500,000 to 700,000 hectares of new terra palm plantation, cultivating over 90 to 120 million new trees, and they're setting up 1,680 cottage factories across the space that can process 20,000 liters of palm oil and palm kernel oil every day in all the centers. And we will create a new 13 to 20 billion, $5 to $13 billion economy from that sector alone. If Nigeria had maintained the trajectory of growth that Michael Okpara set in 1965 on the palm oil market, today we'll be exporting nothing less than $38 billion worth of palm oil into the whole world. Does it make sense? And somebody shared, because Niger State has a landmass of that is 2 times more than Southeast, therefore you're supposed to receive more allocation. And people are ignorantly clapping. Please, can we unbundle this zoo? Can we unbundle this jungle and set it back to what our forefathers smartly, carefully created? Ahmadu Bello, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Awolowo, Michael Okpara will be rolling in their graves. Can we unbundle this criminal contraption and go reset ourselves back to that constitutional and fiscal foundation that made this country to be more respected then than today? God bless you. Please share. I am Nemeko Onyekobreri. You can reach me on 0813-444-1140. I am ready to debate anybody on this matter on any platform. We know what to do to fix this country, but we have refused to fix it because a majority of us are dumb and ignorant.